Hello and welcome to lesson 18 on Heliodons and lights. It's a site massing model for a project we've recently done. Just notice that the active layer is a layer called Heliodon PM, and I'm going to select all and I get a Heliodon because there's nothing else in that layer other than the Heliodon. We can see its location is Rostov, its latitude, longitude, and its time zone, and the time and the date. And what we'll just do is play around with this so we can see how adjusting the time and the date works at a 15-minute interval. So let's just do that as we're going back towards lunchtime. And now 9 in the morning, and we're coming up to dawn on the 15th of March. If we change that to, let's go to January or December, very low light, and then of course as we go up to the solstice at 6, the dawn is earlier. For working with the model, I have 3 Heliodons in 3 separate layers. So let's go to the morning. I'm going to just simply select all because there's nothing else in that layer. Notice that the Heliodon is in a class called light. Hit the solar animation. We can already see that it's the same date, but this is at 10:20. So we go a bit earlier and we get those shadows 9:30. And then Heliodon lunchtime. There's nothing else in this layer, so I simply select all. I pick up the Heliodon, and this is the 15th of March, and it's lunchtime, 1:05. You can of course then do a solar animation, which is cute, by exporting this movie, and you get an animation time. The label doesn't terribly work terribly well on my one. You can play around with that and use the sun moving as the current view. If you use the view moving, then the whole model will rotate, but the sun will simply give you the sun path. So it's awfully nice, and here it is. It just so happens that this site is oriented, because it's a site model, it is oriented north, and the settings is just fantastic. If your page north is different, of course, then you would rotate it simply here. So if north happened to be -30, I'd get that, but in this case it isn't. So the settings, and that's fantastic. Okay, so we go to regions. I mean, I'm actually in Kenya, but this site isn't, and it's just brilliant. It has a little symbol of its own. The symbol comes in kind of default when you insert the Heliodon. Of course, you insert the Heliodon through the rendering menu. It's a type of light, and there you go. You can just insert it into the layer called light, so you can switch it on and off. We have other layers, classes, for lights, which is important. So these are switched off. Light source, which we use for a directional light. When you open that, insert that light tool, it'll give you a dialog box on what kind of light you want. We'll come onto this a little bit later, but we'll just note that. And light spot is a spotlight, mostly for interiors, and this is where Vectorworks is just sublimely ahead of the rest of the applications on the market, because not only does it have Spotlight, which is its kind of add-on for stage and theatre and event designing, It also has, of course, as you probably know, Landmark, which is the landscaping add-on. So there isn't another package available, without mentioning any names, that just does everything that Vectorworks does. I'd put my Heliodon on 000, which is pretty close inside the model, so that all works. That works fine. If it's far away from the model, then you're going to get a funny effect. I think it gives me a little preview of this sunrise to sunset. Does it give me a preview? Medium quality, frames per second, well, probably 125. And then standard frame size, quality medium. We can try that. Let's put it in there. There we are, so it's animating it. So it's a good tool to show planners, clients and whatnot if you've got a tall building or a small building that's being shaded by others. Yeah, it's playing a bit fast, but you can get better resolutions playing around with the time interval, particularly if you'd reduce it to 5 minutes. So that's fun, and that's basically the Heliodon. So here is a scene, and you can see the lights. We want to know which one is which. So the key to the whole of this, if you open your visualization palette, is that your lights have a name. Spot Kitch 1 is down here, and I can turn it on or I can turn it off. It's showing us, in fact, that the Heliodon is also on. It's the morning Heliodon. In fact, this kitchen window does face east, so that's why you're getting some morning light. In these other layers, which are actually the fittings of this kitchen, see how that works. There's the room. So all the fittings are on a separate layer. So in this layer are these lights. So absolutely crucial is when you insert a light, put it in the right class. So in this case it's a spotlight, light spot, and give it a name. Now there's many more rooms in this house. Vectorworks can't really cope with too many lights on. So you want to put on the lights for the scene you were looking at. I don't need the dining room on, that's across the hall. We can move through here. Okay, so I mean obviously there should be a light over the sink. There it is. If you turn them all on, you'll get a funny effect and they'll just disappear. And you don't get that accent lighting which is so beautiful and Vectorworks does so well. If you put a light inside a symbol, which I have done, I'm just going to turn the hob on. Should see a bit more of a hob next to the soufrier, which is Swahili for saucepan. This light is selected, it's the Spot Kitchen 1, it goes over the kitchen table, that's fine. And moving through, these were the shots we did for the movie. All those wall cupboards are supposed to have nice little downlighters in them. These are the spots in the wall cupboard and they're in a symbol. If I turn those on, yes, but you see only 3 of them light up. You see these cupboard symbols have a little downlighter inserted into the symbol. It has a name. It's called Spot Cupboard Wall 600 wide. So there's kind of too many and it doesn't like it. And you might find you see if I turn another light off, another one comes on. If I turn the other hob one, then so there's a kind of limit to what Vectorworks seems to be able to cope with, particularly when the light is inside a symbol. And regrettably, often you just have to explode it. Because it's in that class, you can then isolate that class just to show that class on its own. And then if you're just in the class light spot, which I am, and I select all, it's just going to show me 13 lights, right? And they're all, yes, but they're in other rooms as well. There's a little bit of a nuance knack to that. It's something to do with it being embedded inside the symbol, and that's what this little icon here is showing you. Where is what is called the parent. So you can actually edit this light directly a dialog box open, tells you it's inside a symbol. Look, there we are, 2D, 3D symbol, that's right. Whereas another light, the hob light, if I go to edit that, I've just got the light, and it tells me it's a spot. If you really want to get beautifully lit room, interior particularly, and we'll just go to the living room now, which is this one. Now I can turn all those wall cupboard lights off. I'm looking for a picture of the, we don't need the hall, that's upstairs. Unfortunately, because the saved view doesn't save the lighting. That's a little bit of a problem, because if you want to do an animation walkthrough, the lighting won't change during the movie. I want the living room on. There we go, living room. So spot live 1E, I've numbered them. There we are, see the carpets coming up now. There should be one over the fireplace. There we are, living room fire. That lights up the TV set, which is a view of Mount Kenya. There we are, there's the fireplace, there's the dog. And I'm trying to light my picture there, which is spot Amritsar large, and it's the Golden Temple at Amritsar. When you've got your scene and you want to make your movie, then, you know, do it room by room. I have a spot for His Greatness, Mark Rothko. There it is. So with the combination of sources, light sources and heliodons, you might find sometimes that when you're looking at the section with the clip cube, or in this case in a section viewport, that the shadows aren't quite working. It's the interior's too dark, and things like that. So it takes a bit of fiddling to get the lighting right in the section, and play around until you get the lighting that you want. In this case, now this is the visualization palette is showing us the lighting for this viewport, and the selected viewport. So a point light in the basement, and you can see that we have used in light sources, which is a layer we have on here, some other sources. Source north, source east. It's just a directional light. You can see that. Okay, it's locked because it's inside the viewport, but there we are, it's directional and it's on in this viewport. That's right. So you can see we've got a spot in the atrium. So we've got one Heliodon in Heliodon class. We've got a spot in the roof. We've got a spot in the massing model. It's just a bit fiddly. I mean, you can try changing the time of your Heliodon to try and get those shadows through the windows and into the section. Move the section line closer to a wall at the internal partitions to get that nice kind of shadowed, rendered section. You have to be careful with viewports rendered with OpenGL. There's a glitch. The viewport's not rendered right. There's a bit of a ghost from some other part. There we go. So we've updated it. Be careful of that, especially with presentations. You go and print your document, and then lo and behold find that there's this kind of erroneous bit of rendering. This out of date border button can be useful, but generally it's just a nuisance. You're in control of whether the viewport is out of date or not, and it will show you, because this update button here will go red. I prefer to have all my viewports on the same sheet layer, so that I can copy and paste annotations and various things, and it's frowned on. Say one ought to do it by batch printing, but then I've got a million different sheet layers. Plus, if I want to change the date or revision number of all the issue sheets, I can do that in one hit. Revision number. But so if those were all on separate sheets, I'd have to change them all. It's an absolute bore. But I digress. So thanks for watching.